Our opening words today come from Rhys Williams. Spirit of life, come to us to break down barriers, to widen horizons, to make us less judgmental. Help us to see the larger picture and the kinder conclusion, to love and let live, to embrace and forgive, to sustain and care. Help us to reach out to our better selves, that we may love more and hate less, care more and reject less, that bound together by understanding, we may sustain each other through trial and tribulation, through joy and happiness, through sickness and health. Help us to be joined in a common purpose of hope and fulfillment. Renew and revive us. We seek a common, holy ground for one and all. Amen. We all believe we want justice. We all think we know what justice is, how it works, how we can achieve it. At least in this society, we all have a similar blueprint for what justice is, what injustice is, and how the one can turn into the other. But what if we're wrong? What if the idea we have of what constitutes justice is partial, incomplete? What if our whole sense of how justice works is based on false premises, on an incomplete understanding of what justice is, how it works, and more importantly, how we can achieve it? I grew up, as probably most of us did, on movies and television and books and plays all about crime and punishment, or wrongs revenged. It's nothing new. What is Hamlet, after all, but a revenge play, albeit a classy one? Go all the way back to Greek drama, and what do you see? Wrongs done, wrongs avenged. In our time, superheroes capture and punish the bad guys, whether they put them in prison or kill them outright. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The person you see committing the crime at the beginning of the show is hauled off to court and then presumably to jail by the end of the show, and that's a happy ending. The model we've chosen for our justice system, which mirrors the systems we've created in our schools, our workplaces, and our families as well, is based on punishment. Maybe there's some idea of rehabilitation in there, but the person has to be punished in order to be rehabilitated. That's the way a crime victim can be given justice, seeing the person who hurt them punished. There are procedures in our system which give victims the right to consult with the prosecutors and tell the prosecutors what they think the criminal's punishment should be. Not that the prosecutors are bound by these views, nor are judges, but victims are encouraged to participate in the process by telling about their pain and suffering and demanding the perpetrator suffer the same pain, because that's justice. But how limited, how cruel that view of justice is. You've heard me talk about Bryan Stevenson before. I consider him a modern-day saint, and I consider his book, Just Mercy, to be one of the most powerful books I've ever read. Stevenson has great intimate knowledge of how our criminal justice system works, or doesn't work, what it actually does to people as compared to what it claims to do to people. The reading was an excerpt from that book, a point at which he had an epiphany of sorts about his clients and himself. Remember, Stevenson has been representing people on death row, people charged with murder, people who are alleged to have committed the most heinous crimes. He looks at them and at himself, and what he sees is that his clients are broken, and so is he. So are we all. He speaks powerfully of how our brokenness is the source of our compassion, or should be. We are all damaged. We have all hurt other people. We have all been hurt by other people. This is the thing that connects you and me with the people on death row. We have been hurt, sometimes terribly. We have hurt other people, sometimes terribly. There are differences in degree, certainly, but not in the fundamental nature of our shared humanity. Stevenson talks about our denial of our own brokenness, our need to separate from each other, our need to appear tough by lashing out and punishing those who are weakest, most broken among us. He talks about our forcing people who have been victims of crime to hold on to their anger, hold on to their pain, to define themselves as victims in order to punish the people who have wronged them. This is not justice, he says. This is a denial of our basic humanity. What is justice? Justice is relationships in balance. Justice is a system in which our common humanity is the basis of the way we treat each other. Justice is an integral part of the beloved community we strive for. Justice is compassion, and compassion requires forgiveness. Forgiveness is another one of those things we think we understand, but maybe our understanding of forgiveness is limited too. Forgiveness isn't saying, that's all right, while holding anger and resentment in your heart. Forgiveness isn't saying, what you did to me was all right, when it was hurtful, denying the pain, pretending you weren't hurt. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's not pretending the wrong never happened. It's not holding on to the wrong for the rest of your life either. I always had trouble with that one. I believed it was an either-or proposition. Either you forgive and forget and you never think about what happened again, which basically struck me as impossible, or you don't forgive and the person is dead to me. Or you have what we jokingly call Irish Alzheimer's, where you forget everything except your grudges. Forgiveness isn't a transaction. It doesn't require two people or more than two people. It doesn't require the person doing the wrong to beg for forgiveness. I've always had that sort of idea of forgiveness because it's right there in the Lord's Prayer, which I learned as a Catholic child. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. There it is. God is not going to forgive you unless you forgive other people. So you forgive other people in order to keep out of hell, or at least purgatory. Forgiveness is letting go. Letting go of the need to punish, letting go of the hurt. No longer letting the other person live rent-free in your head. No longer continuing to shape your life around the wrong that was done to you. Forgiveness is something you do for your own healing, and when you have forgiven, you allow the other person to heal too. This is not easy. This is not something you do once and never have to deal with again. This is a process, a spiritual practice. And sometimes you have to work really hard to reach this state of mind, of heart. One of the things that helped me think about forgiveness in a new, more generous way is a book called The Gift of Forgiveness. The subtitle is Inspiring Stories from Those Who Have Overcome the Unforgivable. That subtitle is accurate. The true stories in there of people who have endured some of the most horrible things I could imagine and forgiven the people responsible are, well, they're more than eye-opening. They're heart-opening. Elizabeth Smart, kidnapped and raped and abused for months, forgave her kidnappers. Immaculée Ilibagiza, a Tutsi woman whose whole family was slaughtered by rampaging Hutus in Rwanda, who hid in the bathroom of her pastor's house for 90 days, terrified every moment that the door would be broken down and she and the other women hiding there would be pulled out and murdered. Meeting the man who killed her family and crying in compassion for him, forgiving him. Polly Shepherd, who was praying with her fellow Bible study group members when Dylan Roof opened fire on them all and killed 9 of them, forgave the shooter. Scarlett Lewis, this is the hard one, whose 7-year-old son, Jesse, was gunned down at Sandy Hook. Looked at Adam Lanza, the shooter, looked at his life and his background, felt compassion for his suffering, and forgave him. And her older son, JT, began to forgive when a group of orphans from Rwanda reached out to him, told him of their experiences, and how they realized that if they didn't forgive, they would be traveling down the same road as the killers. I'll tell you straight, I can't imagine doing this. I can't imagine suffering those kinds of losses and being able to have compassion for the person responsible. Maybe these people are saints in the way I spoke of saints earlier, people who demonstrate heroic virtue. God willing, I will never be in a position where I have to face that terrible injustice, that horrible breaking of a relationship. But I'm certainly in a position now, and I've often been in a position where someone hurt me or did something to me or someone I care about that fills me with anger. I need to cultivate forgiveness. I need to learn to see that holding on to anger and pain, to being a victim of someone else, only hurts me. I need to learn how to see the brokenness in the people who have wronged me, as Brian Stevenson says, and to see how that brokenness, our common brokenness, brings me to compassion, to our common humanity. That, and only that, will bring justice. May we go forth, aware of our brokenness, aware of our common humanity. May we seek justice. May we forgive. May we be blessed with the compassion that brings us together. Amen. Oh, our closing hymn is, building